When Vince McMahon announced his retirement from WWE in July 2022, amid allegations of sexual misconduct, a top executive at Endeavor was already telling colleagues that very day that McMahon's departure would be temporary, he would return, and that a company transaction of WWE could then be imminent, forecasting the eventual merger with UFC. In a text message sent within hours of McMahon's public statement, Mark Shapiro, then Endeavor number 2 to Ari Emanuel, and now TKO president, outlined a scenario that later unfolded with remarkable accuracy. Nick and Stephanie are going to take over the WWE for the next 9 months, Shapiro wrote, referring to Nick Khan and Stephanie McMahon, who became co-CEOs that day. Vince be back with a new board, or he will take the company private, or he will sell it coming to us. The race is on, Shapiro added. The courtship is on. Shapiro sent the message to Andrew Schleimer, now the chief financial officer of TKO, and to Jason Lublin, who was Endeavor's CFO at the time. McMahon returned to WWE in January 2023, less than 6 months later, rather than 9. He did so by reinstating himself onto the board of directors, using his superior voting power as controlling shareholder. McMahon removed several directors. Some resigned, and he added 2 others besides himself. Immediately upon his return, WWE announced it was exploring strategic alternatives, meaning the company was for sale. 3 months after that, WWE agreed to merge with Endeavor's UFC business, creating the parent holding company now known as TKO. The lawsuit claims that McMahon's priority was to secure his future on top of WWE, despite the sexual misconduct scandal that led to his 2022 resignation and the payment of millions of dollars in non-disclosure agreements that were not properly recorded on the company's books. Plaintiffs contend that McMahon and Emanuel had a friendship that assured McMahon would stay with the company post-transaction, whereas other potential suitors would have required him to leave WWE permanently. McMahon has denied the allegations. KKR was contacted and declined to provide a comment for this report. WWE's filing doesn't speak of interactions Emanuel and McMahon may have had as early as July 2022 about a potential deal. WWE's filing stated that the Endeavor offer was worth $95.66 per share, without synergies, and $105.04 per share, with $90 million of annual synergies, putting that $105.04 value just over the high end of bids from the other 2 parties. Based on WWE's account, the company took the highest offer available. The plaintiffs argue, however, that the process wasn't allowed to fully develop. A court filing refers to a WWE internal high case projection from February 2023 that valued the company at up to $178 per share, even as the stock price hovered around half that at the time. WWE's filed narrative also lays out how WWE and Endeavor negotiated after an initial proposal in February 23 that would have given Endeavor 57% of the combined company and WWE shareholders 43%. After further negotiations, WWE countered with a revised structure that increased WWE's stake to 49% and reduced Endeavor's to 51%. According to WWE's account, Endeavor agreed to the revised split, but only after terms were added guaranteeing McMahon a continued leadership role as executive chairman of the new company's board, along with control of certain board seats and veto rights. 8 days after they seemingly met for lunch, on August 18, 2022, Emanuel sent McMahon a series of messages, including a few links to TikTok videos, and an apparent invitation for special access to a Bill Burr comedy show at Fenway Park. Records indicate Emanuel then sent McMahon multiple voice messages. What Emanuel said to McMahon in those voice memos isn't in the public record. The Endeavor superagent then sent McMahon a download link, the contents of which are also unknown, but Emanuel followed up with a striking text that suggests they might have been discussing something other than stand-up comedy. I will be your greatest partner. On August 22, 2022, Emanuel texted McMahon again. I know you met with Jeff Sine yesterday, he wrote, referring to a senior banker at the Rain Group who would later serve as WWE's financial advisor in the sale process. They made plans to speak the next day before McMahon headed to Italy. Emanuel was eager enough to meet with McMahon. He said he was willing to fly from Paris to Italy to get together. 3 days later, on August 25, Christopher Donini, a managing director at Rain, emailed materials to Lublin and Schleimer, the same Endeavor executives Shapiro texted a month earlier about McMahon's eventual return. Donnie copied Cine, The message referenced a prior conversation with Cine and attached what Dhoni described as high-level overview materials and sensitivities related to Project Stunner, Reigns' apparent internal code name for the WWE transaction. Dhoni offered to schedule a call to discuss the materials. Reigns did not return a request for comment for this report. Later the same day, Marty Patterson, another Liberty Media executive involved in the company's deal-making efforts, reacted to a Puck article. Relying on unnamed sources familiar with the deal, the article by media reporter Dylan Byers reported Endeavor made pitches to WWE in mid-March 2023 and another more emotional one a week later at WWE headquarters. Byers' insider report, titled The Art of Ari's Deal, doesn't suggest awareness of the advanced access Endeavor appears to have had to negotiations since the prior July. Byers earnestly framed Liberty as stiff competition and quoted Shapiro maintaining that the deal was nip and tuck all the way. The article meaningfully overstates the competitiveness of the process, Patterson wrote to Liberty colleagues. He added that the article serves Endeavor WWE interests. Liberty Media did not respond to a request to provide comments for this report. That solution was not a straightforward purchase of WWE by Endeavor, but a merger that pulled UFC out of Endeavor, along with the associated debt, to combine the leading MMA brand with the leading pro wrestling business. The debt would not disappear, but would no longer sit with Endeavor. It became the responsibility of the newly formed company we now know as TKO. McMahon's involvement with WWE creative and WrestleMania plans in 2023. Brennan noted that McMahon had been attending more WWE events and asked Khan whether McMahon had become more involved in the creative process. Khan answered definitively, "No," is the answer to that. A month earlier, on February 28, 2023, McMahon texted Khan about creative, according to new court filings. McMahon wrote to Khan relaying an interaction that presumably involved Paul Levesque. Text from me to Paul and Bruce. "Hey guys, just double-checking. Does Roman and Cody know the new creative minus Mania and next year?" Bruce: "Not to my knowledge. I don't know if Paul has had a conversation with either. Roman's first appearance since we spoke is Friday in DC. Both will be there in person." Me to Paul. "Paul, have you?" Khan responded to McMahon cryptically, writing, "Langis, what in the blue hell is Langis LOL?" McMahon texted back, "Read it backwards." Khan replied, "That interaction regarding new creative runs counter to Khan's statement a month later on CNBC that McMahon wasn't involved in the creative process. The public record doesn't show more about what new creative McMahon was referring to, or whether he had any influence in Roman Reigns' win over Cody Rhodes in the main event of that year's WrestleMania, an outcome that surprised many fans. Shareholders suing over the merger are less concerned with McMahon's involvement in WWE's creative decisions than with Khan directing discussions to Signal, which prominently features an auto-delete function. Plaintiffs allege key communications on Signal were not properly preserved, possibly circumventing special preservation measures required during mergers and acquisitions. If messages weren't properly maintained, it could weigh into the lawsuit's outcome. The plaintiffs have asked the court to order Khan, Emmanuel Levesque, and former WWE executive and McMahon Brad Blum to sit down with attorneys and take screenshots of any relevant messages they have on devices on which they used Signal. That decision is still pending with the presiding judge, Vice Chancellor J. Travis Laster. As part of the deal to merge WWE with UFC, McMahon was guaranteed a lifetime role with TKO unless he resigned. He did resign from all roles at WWE and TKO in January 2024, leaving the company for the second time, after former WWE employee Janelle Grant filed a federal lawsuit suing McMahon and the company, alleging she was sex-trafficked and sexually assaulted by McMahon. He denies those allegations as well. That case remains ongoing in the U.S. District Court in Connecticut. The shareholder case is being litigated in Delaware Chancery Court, a venue known for high-profile corporate lawsuits. If the plaintiffs prevail, they could recover monetary damages on behalf of stockholders and financial institutions that held WWE shares during the relevant period. In addition to their roles as leading executives with TKO and WWE, Emmanuel Shapiro and Khan are also current board members for TKO. Emmanuel serves as executive chairman. The merger lawsuit is scheduled to go to trial in June 2026.